Yes.
Okay, is Doug ready?
Yes.
Okay. We'll call the city council meeting, special meeting of July 13th to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Churko.
Here.
Councilmember Dovey.
Here.
Councilmember Gross.
Here.
Councilmember Hasselbrink.
Here.
Special orders of the day, 3A is temporary use permits for outdoor uses. Chet, would you like to jump in?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and Council, for making the time to be here tonight. The item before you is to affirm the emergency order that I put in place on the 1st, which essentially was to allow for our restaurants and our retailers to use some of the outdoor spaces around their businesses in order to be able to account for the fact that the governor had put in place an order ceasing a lot of inside operations. As you all know, that order has been expanded as of today at his press conference at noon, where there are additional businesses that now fall into that category. And so I would see these becoming more essential as time goes on. They have been successful with a number of our restaurants, us getting them signed up. We have been working with a lot of them. We've only run into one instance thus far where we were unable to actually get somebody to approval, had to change a lot of the makeup of what they were doing, but ultimately we're able to get them up and approved. So, so far it seems like the business community is responding to this. And the action for the council this evening would be to review the criteria that we put in place, and if there are any alterations that you may wish to make.
Does anybody have any comments?
I had a question for the number 9, that they're encouraged to use reservations to prevent capacity issues. What's the backup plan if for whatever reason they are not able to accept reservations?
Ron, I'll let you hop in here if you can, but I believe that the idea is to encourage, simply because it gives them a capacity management tool for them to use. However, it's not a requirement.
Good evening. That is correct. It's just because of the COVID-19 situation, it's just strongly encouraged to try to do online reservation, whether it's online or phone calls. We're trying to just increase the amount of people interacting into the business. But again, it's just strongly encouraged to do that. It's not an absolute requirement.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
So, Chet, are you saying that all the restaurants that are currently providing outside dining have already gotten their permits? Because there's a mess of them, and I'm highly
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be laughing. No, so you are correct. There are a number that are currently operating. What we have been doing through development services is contacting all of them. Obviously, once something's said that it's legal, everybody rushes to do it as quick as they can, and I can understand that, trying to keep their businesses open. So what we have done is we have gone out and taken a look at the ones that are out there and are operating, and if we have deemed them safe, we'll allow them to continue to operate while they're going through the permitting process, which we're trying to turn around as quickly as possible. But in instances where it is unsafe, like the one that I mentioned before, we do put a stop to their operations until such times they're able to make corrections that fall in line with city guidelines and to the satisfaction of our planning and building staff.
So don't ask for permission, apologize later, because we have businesses that are following the rules and have not opened because they haven't gone through that process yet. So it's a little disheartening to see some of these other restaurants saying, oh, I'll just apologize later, I didn't know. And then we're saying, okay, we'll stay open while you go through the process, and other businesses are shut down.
And I can understand, yes, I do understand your point. And my goal is to try to get as many of these businesses permitted as quickly as possible.
Okay, but you're saying that if they open and they look like they're safe, they're letting them stay open?
That is my mode of operations. However, if the council wishes to go in another direction, I am more than willing to obviously follow that direction.
I'm fine with the direction. I just want to make sure it's fair because all these are on the brink of going out of business anyway. And I just want to make sure that we don't have two standards and the one that said, screw it, I'm going to open up anyway and just apologize if they come talk to me. What's the consequence? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not trying to be hard on them, but it's like, they're all starving out there and, what do you do with that?
No, I understand. And I think that one of the things that we have done this past week and will continue to do this week, especially with the chamber meeting later this week, is education obviously is our best tool here, or I think our best weapon. And so trying to get the word out about what the process is and how to get that permit and making sure that it's safe as quickly as possible is what we are aiming at.
Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same plan.
I'll move approval.
How did some people find out before other people?
They didn't. They just opened up. That's exactly what they did. They said, hey,
Really?
we got a sidewalk here. We'll just open up and we'll throw out 10 tables. And it's exactly what they're doing.
But how did they know that they could do that? Or is it just they had sidewalk, so they were
had
able
sidewalk,
to?
they just opened.
So some people
they're
don't
all
have sidewalk. Like ones that don't have sidewalk, those are the ones that are having to, I imagine there's some businesses that don't have sidewalk, so they have
The ones that are following the rules and waiting until they get their permit aren't open. The ones that just said, hey, we can open, and it's just, all these guys are starving on the brink of bankruptcy, and you've got some that have been open since day one before we even announced the permit, and they are still open, and you have others that saying, well, I'm working with the city, but I can't open until I get that permit.
No, and again, I do grade exactly what you're saying in terms of what the issue here. And I will say also that the fact that we're receiving this information and it changes, again, almost day to day as to what is going to be allowed and what isn't going to be allowed does make it difficult to keep pace. But again, I have stressed staff and we are making those what I'll call proactive contacts out to the business community to try to get them as permitted as quickly as possible. I did try to err on the side of, not making it harder for businesses out there.
No, agreed. There's just some that have been open for a week now before we even voted on this. So
It was posted, if I'm not mistaken, last Thursday on social media on the city's website.
yeah, to apply for the permit, they've been open since last Monday.
Okay.
I mean, Mama's was sitting in the parking lot last Monday. So just as long as it's fair for everybody, because we're gonna be losing a bunch of restaurants pretty quick here, and we're trying to do everything we can, but the rule breakers seem to get the weak advantage. So just want to make sure everybody's treated fairly.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and move the action as requested.
Thank you. And a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Murphy,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Churko,
Aye.
Councilmember Doby,
Aye.
Councilmember Gross,
Aye.
Councilmember Hasselbrink.
Aye.
Okay, on to Emergency Relief Small Business Grant Program, Phase 2. Chet?
Yes, thank you, sir. So as the council is aware, we did receive a portion of the CARES Act money from the county to go ahead and distribute to local businesses as part of the Relief Act. The council approved a set of criteria with the recommendations that came from both staff and the Small Business Development Center. We had a series of outreach pieces. We did a Zoom meeting with businesses to promote. It was also promoted on our website and social media sites. Ultimately, we did receive a number of applicants. What's become clear and is becoming clear for a number of cities is that obviously there's a lot of businesses out there that need help. And some of the requirements or the eligibility stipulations that were placed in that were making it difficult for some businesses to qualify. What a number of cities are doing and at the county level are looking at actually revising some of those standards in order to make it easier for some businesses to actually apply and make it through the process. At the moment, we have some 12 businesses that are currently actually are in the process of going through and providing their paperwork. That obviously leaves a significant amount of funding still on the table. And so what staff is proposing is to open essentially a second tranche of money with some different eligibility requirements in order to put that money back out on the street and see if there are businesses who would like to take advantage of it. Some of the advantages of being able to do this is that we can now target individual business operations, also individual business types, which we weren't able to do under the first cohort of money. So the opportunity here, I believe, is to essentially make it available to more businesses that are out there. The main changes would be essentially that instead of needing 2 employees, we would distill that down to 1 employee, which would allow sole proprietors and also independent contractors to apply for this funding, which seemed to be actually the largest barrier to entry in the previous first phase of the program. And then also that we would be reducing the business license requirement to match up more in line with the actual beginning of the COVID pandemic. So if there was a business that started just in this amount of time, that they also would be able to take advantage of this.
So Chet, just as a way of background, with the money we have availability for 54 grants.
Yes, sir.
And right now you say there's only 12?
There are 12 that are currently being processed. And again, there is requirements with regards to anytime you're handing out federal funding with different auditing of documents that they have to provide. There is a chance out of those businesses that some of them may not be able to produce the needed documentation, which means that potentially there might be the availability of those funds to be returned to the pool and then be available for other businesses to take advantage of.
Thank you. I'd like to ask my colleagues a question about the term employee. Most of us work for small businesses or for ourselves. I think we are all aware that an employee in this definition includes a sole proprietor. But I'm sure if you asked a sole proprietor if they had any employees, they'd say no. So I think we need to make that clear exactly what qualifies here.
Could we do something where ask how many W-2s they have? Because that seems to be even a sole proprietorship. If they take a salary, they would W-2 themselves.
That is true, but what about the sole proprietor who just uses a Schedule C and doesn't pay payroll?
Yeah, I'm a Schedule C. The documents that I've seen have said at least 1 employee, including yourself. So I knew, oh, hey, that's me. I can count myself. Because I'm a Schedule C. I'm not a W.
Then maybe something like that, W-2s and including the owner or the sole proprietor. Because you don't want to get a lot of 1099s in there because they're technically not employees. But if the owner does a Schedule C for himself, obviously, he's an employee, and then any other W-2s you might have.
Jen, any suggestions on how to handle the term?
If you may, I in the initial one, it did say it was 2 W-2 employees, including the owner. So to be consistent, we would probably use the same language where it's 1 employee, including the owner.
Okay. It doesn't seem clear to me, and it seems redundant at the same time. Obviously, if you're in business, there's at least one employee, you.
Yeah. We can put more clarification because we don't want someone that's like a subcontractor applying for a grant. So we can maybe put, I'll discuss with the SDBC, but maybe we'll put one W-2 employee, including owner, and in parentheses, we might be able to put like no subcontractors.
So are we eliminating Schedule C people then?
In the first,
No, because they would be owners.
yeah.
But we would eliminate any 1099 employee that would do a Schedule C. So the only Schedule C we would accept is the owner himself, but anybody else, they'd have to be W-2. Because Tanya, you do a Schedule C because you're your own owner, correct? Yeah.
Has there been any information on second round of eligibility? I know a lot of these have been first go round, and if you already got something, you cannot apply again. But with what was announced earlier, with all of the certain types of businesses being shut again, is there any plan to allow for a second round, or is it all, because you're going to start running out of people to give first rounds of monies to, depending on your city? Like if a lot of our people already got it, there's only going to be so many more that would be eligible. What happens with the money that's left on the table? Is there talks of a second eligibility time?
And I think that it's actually a great point. Is something that actually was brought up to me earlier by the mayor, the possibility of potentially looking at a third phase and what exactly you would do under that scenario. Essentially allowing for the removal of some additional restrictions, namely maybe has already previously received funds from another source, removing the barrier of actually having a business license for 3 months, but a business that just recently opened, within the last month or so, making it available to those people as well. So I believe that if we are to make the changes that we're contemplating today, given the reaction of what we got out of the first phase of funding, that we largely would be fully subscribed, especially given the additional impacts that are announced today. That seems to be what we're finding from some of our neighboring cities as well. And so I think that we'll probably, by the time we get to the end of this tranche, I believe that we'll be fully subscribed. Now, that being said, there has been obviously discussion at the federal level about another stimulus package. What exactly that will entail when it comes out is, really up to debate at the moment. It's currently stalled in the Senate. So at that time, I think it would be appropriate to revisit this question and obviously see if there's a more targeted sector of businesses that the council would like to try to assist.
Okay. Thank you.
Ken, I'm just going to guess that as the election gets closer, the desire of voting Congress people to give money away is going to increase daily. So I would expect there is going to be a second round coming up.
Just remember, it's our money they're giving away.
Yes. What happens to this money if we don't use it?
So it's a very good question, sir. If this money is not expended, the idea is that it would eventually go back to the county, as this was granted by the county to the cities for a very specific purpose. The county has not indicated what exactly they would do with those funds. However, they did ask for, during a call today, they did ask cities that were expending these funds to be prepared to provide reports as to what exactly it was expended on, what was the criteria, and if any of the funds were left over. That obviously is not due until I think at least 3 months from now. That being said, we would hope to have all of our funding out the door by then. But again, with that caveat that if there is additional funding coming from the federal government or from the state or from the county, we may have to address this criteria yet again in order to ensure that we're that we have a large enough pool of businesses to be able to give it to.
Just change the amount that we're giving. If the candidate pool, the eligible candidate pool gets smaller, can we just change how much they get?
Yes, you can.
Like if the money's left over, it goes back to the county anyway. And I don't particularly want to have to do that. I'm sure any business probably needs what we'll give them and whatever else we can give them. So could we do that?
That definitely would be an option up to the $10,000 limit that the county put in when it originally dispersed the funds. So that would definitely be an option for the city council. But I would agree with the overall sentiment, which is I would not be a fan of letting any of the money go back to the county.
Mm-hmm.
So can we put a catch-all in there that at the end we will divide the money by how many applicants we have, as long as we stay under the 10,000?
That is an option, sir. And just so I'm understanding that you would take any unawarded money and essentially divide it amongst those that had received awards?
Yes.
Why is it only $10,000? Why did they give because of the amount of money that they gave us?
It was a cap that was originally put in place by the county.
I think I know. Okay. That seems low. Okay. I like that idea.
So, Chet, to move this along at this point, you need us to vote on the changes that are being recommended on the bottom of page 2 of the staff report under discussion.
That is correct, sir.
And if we want to put in a phase 3, we can make a motion to do that at this time.
Yes, I believe that would be the proper forum.
Or do we have to come back to do a phase 3?
I believe that you can add a recommendation that or a motion to include the phase 3 as you've described, which is essentially taking all unexpended funds and dividing it equally upon recipients.
Any thoughts on that?
Is there something we can do with maybe taking the money and spending it on something that would benefit the business community as a whole? Whether it be some sort of event or something, or are they pretty strict about it has to go directly to the businesses?
And I'll let Michael speak to this a little bit, but they was pretty prescriptive as to what exactly the funds could be used for and how they were to be expended.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that, Chet. It was, in fact, prescriptive, and there's defined terms as to what constitutes an eligible expenditure. And of course, when there is an audit or an accounting of how these funds were spent, we'll have to produce documentation showing that every cent that went out was actually allocated towards those ends.
Yeah, and I don't want to obviously do anything illegal or, or unethical. I'm just trying to think outside the box about, those that didn't qualify. How can we help them also with this money if we're not expending all of the money, just to kind of get all of our businesses a little shot in the arm?
Chet, would all the small businesses like the hairdressers and the manicurists, those type of things, do they all get individual licenses with the city, or do they go under the owners, like we do in a real estate office, that the office gets a license?
I'll let Ron speak to this, but typically I found that it can go both ways.
Correct. You're right. It can go both way, Mayor. So you could get a hairstylist that gets their own business license and they're their own employee, or you could have an owner and then you're a subcontractor for that owner.
So if we wanted to help those people who are now getting shut down again after being closed the longest of any other business, how would we word that?
On phase 2, we're dropping the requirement of 2 employees down to 1. So that's
Right.
the one individual hairstylist that is just got their own business license, and then they're on their own. And then all along when the phase 1 and continue on phase 2, again, if the business owner decides to apply for the business grant program, then that business can receive that money and then therefore help the individual subcontractors.
Mayor, I think I see where you're going with that. Don't we have addresses for everybody that has a business license in Los Alamitos? Like, could we just mail them a letter directly? Like, hey, we have funding available. Here's what you need to do to apply. Good luck.
That is correct. We have email addresses for all of them. So as part of this program, when we launched it, we did an email blast to every single email in our database that has a business license. Correct.
Okay. Only reason I say like mailing address, I realize that there's a cost associated, but most people don't check their spam like I do. So that notice might just be sitting in their spam folder, and that would be why they didn't apply to begin with.
It's a possibility, but right now the city has we go through MailChimp. It's a service that we pay for, and because of that, it's supposed to assist us with not going directly into the spam folder.
I can tell you, y'all go to mine.
We, like I said, we do other means. So we reached out to the Chamber of Commerce to assist us in the marketing of that. We wrote press releases. We put it on our website. We put it up on our social media. And then we also do a weekly email blast through the Recreation and Community Services Department. I can't remember exactly how many, but it's in the thousands of the email addresses, and the open rate is quite high on those.
I will add, just as a note, that in the interest of trying to put the program out as quickly as possible in order to try to get money into people's hands as quickly as possible, we did try to look for I guess I'll call it the fastest way to get the information out that we could. But given the fact that this is the second round, and the fact that people already know about it, I do believe that we're going to reach that subscription level pretty quickly. I'm hopeful of that. Given the fact that there were so many people that, if by making a small change now, would actually qualify. So I believe that we are, if not reaching the very top, then darn close with the changes that are being proposed. But again, the idea of a phase 3 does allow for some of those additional funds to ensure that they're not left behind.
So just so I'm clear, if somebody works under an owner but under their license, they are not currently eligible to apply for the money, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And if we were to change the bottom sentence to say just a business license, no time frame, that would allow those people to come in and get their own license and make an application. Is that also correct?
If you were to make that change, yes.
Okay. Could my colleagues tell me, you agree with my thinking that we want to help these smaller businesses, or?
I mean, if that'll encompass the manicurists and the hairstylists that are starving right now and have just been shut down again, I'd say go for it. I mean, however we can get the money in these people's hands, let's do it.
Okay, so Chet and Ron, could we do that? How about the others? Is everybody in agreement we want to help these people?
Mayor, we had, I think, per the staff report, we had 49 people or 49 businesses apply. A lot didn't qualify. And what's being done by this action is to reduce their time for the business license from 6 months to 3 months. And some of the changes will mean that those didn't qualify previously will now qualify. So I think what we're trying to do is get this out to the people. Obviously, they have to know about it and they have to make the effort to apply. Many people did. So I think we're the right course.
Okay, Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a little bit hesitant to just open up the business license requirement so that people will only get a business license to get this money, whereas they never have before. And the potential for some gamesmanship there. But all of the other requirements are still in effect. So I think we'd be okay. I mean, what if we just do as the staff report recommends and shrink it down to 3 months or 2 months or 1 month before today, so that it's not someone just applying. Otherwise, we're going to get people just applying for business licenses just to get this money. But yeah, I know there will be legitimate
Mark,
ones.
but if you play that out, if we get, the stylist and the manicurist with the business license, now we have them on record, and now every year there's a renewal. We have access to more business owners. I mean, that type of thing, if you want to play it out that way. It's not as though they're and all of a sudden, oh, no, we're not in business anymore. Well, yeah, you are, because the salon's still open.
I'd be interested to see if there's going to be another wave of unemployment and with a tier for gig owners, because that is to me where the manicurist and the pedicurist and the eyebrow lovely folk fall in. And that seems more in line with the monies, like a grant for a manicurist. I think that the shop owner would be eligible, but the person themselves, kind of a stretch for me, because I get that they need money to eat, but they're getting money. The monies have to be used to perpetuate your business. How are they going to do that if the business where they would go is closed?
But they also don't qualify for unemployment, so they're in a double.
No, they do if the state or the federal opened up, they called it gig workers. So you could be like an independent contractor or sole prop or whatever, and they had money specifically for you based off of whatever that you made. So it wasn't, because before we weren't eligible for unemployment, so they made up another category, and the name of it slips my mind. So if that's supposed to end July 26th. So with everything shutting back down, if they're rolling that out again, then I would say we can encourage people to apply for that. Because I know a lot of people don't really know about that, because I told a lot of my friends about it. I would push them more towards that payout than the grant, because the grants are supposed to be specifically for either growing or maintaining your business, like the physical.
So Mayor, what if we did something like in phase 2, we shrink down the timeline to a month or 3 months or whatever. So it's existing businesses, shrink down the number of employees. And then if we happen to have a phase 3 rollout, we'll know more about if they extended the unemployment and all that stuff. And we'll be able to make them more educated if there's still money to spend.
I like it, Shelley.
Okay. Everybody good with that? So we're going to adopt the staff recommendation for a new phase 2 and come back if there's more of an issue.
Right, because there could be changes. We just don't know what they are. We're speculating, but I'd stop trying to second guess the federal and the state government.
Makes your head hurt.
Yeah.
So you want to make a motion then, Shelley, to?
Yeah, I'll move to go ahead and approve staff recommendation for the phase 2 part of it with phase 3 TBA if needed.
I second that.
In a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Murphy,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Turco,
Aye.
Councilmember Doby,
Aye.
Councilmember Gross,
Aye.
Councilmember Hasselbrink.
Aye.
Okay. I believe that brings our business to an end then.
Hey, real quick. Hey, Michael, are you at an Airbnb? Because I've noticed decorations behind you.
I was
Sorry,
waiting for that from you.
I couldn't skip a meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm
Obviously
broadcasting live from my father's den. I went
There
to see
you
my
go.
folks. So yes,
Okay.
their house is apportioned with home decor, unlike my own.
God, okay, so I knew you couldn't be at home, so not an
That's
Airbnb,
right.
but mom and dad's. Okay, good.
That's right.
All is well with the world still.
So I've lost my final page here. There's only 12 of them. You think I'd be able to find it?
I think it just says mayor says goodbye.
Mayor says goodbye. I'll see you
Yeah,
all
there
next
you go.
Monday in real life.
No, Chet, right? We got to go talk to Chet.
Council, as we were going to do a COVID briefing as well. So if you could all, I think Wendy was just going to break us out into the room once you adjourn the meeting. I'll ask you not to hang up.
Well, we will adjourn the meeting and wait for Wendy to do the magic.
Thanks,
And
sir.
Chet, just to confirm, it's you and council. Is there anyone else that you needed in the breakout?
The city attorney, I believe, and Mr. Noda, if he has the time, I would not mind him being there as well.
Wonderful. We'll open up the rooms now.
So, in light of the tragic circumstances involving Mrs. Bird, how does anyone propose bringing kids and teachers back on a larger scale